Deep in the impenetrable Honduran jungle, a legend has tantalized explorers for centuries. The White City of the Monkey God stands as a lost civilization, shrouded in ancient mystery. But what if this fabled city wasn't just a myth whispered by indigenous tribes? What if it was a real sprawling metropolis hidden under layers of rainforest, concealing secrets that could rewrite our understanding of pre-Columbian history? White stone ruins guarded by deities, including a fearsome monkey god. This is where riches and rituals once thrived, only to vanish without a trace. The question that haunts historians is this: how did such an advanced society build monumental structures in one of the world's most hostile environments, and then disappear, leaving behind artifacts that defy easy explanation? But the real puzzle isn't just finding it. It's surviving the jungle's deadly embrace, which some say is cursed by the very gods it honored. Stick around, because what modern technology revealed in 2012 will shock you, and the diseases that struck the discoverers might make you question if some places are meant to stay lost. This tale begins long before modern maps, with roots in the early 16th century. That's when the Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortes arrived in the New World, driven by tales of gold and glory. In 1526, while exploring the region, Cortes documented reports from indigenous informants about prosperous provinces in eastern Honduras. These provinces boasted grand towns constructed from gleaming white stone and overflowing with immense riches. These accounts fueled the European imagination, linking the area to the legendary El Dorado, the city of gold that obsessed colonizers for generations. Yet for the indigenous peoples of the region, such as the Pec, the Mosquito, and the Tawaka, this was no mere treasure hunt. It represented a sacred and forbidden refuge, a place steeped in spiritual significance. In the Pec language, they referred to it as Kaha Kamasa, meaning the White City. It was a sanctuary where their ancestors sought protection from invading forces. This wasn't just a physical location. It was a symbol of resistance and autonomy, guarded by powerful deities drawn from a rich tapestry of myths. Central to these stories was the monkey god, a figure possibly borrowed from Corotega or Nahua traditions. In those myths, monkey effigies played roles in rituals involving human sacrifices and depictions of hybrid beings that merged human and animal forms. These myths often portrayed the monkey god as a trickster or guardian, embodying the unpredictable forces of nature. Pec folklore, including tales like the Patatahua narrative, weaves in elements of storm spirits and thunder gods. It portrays the White City as a realm where divine intervention preserved a golden age before the chaos of colonial disruption. The region itself, part of the broader Istmo-Colombian cultural area, was a crossroads of diverse ethnic groups. They spoke languages from the Chibchan and Misumalpan families. Archaeological clues point to human settlements dating back to around 800 AD, with the society's peak occurring between 800 and 1250 AD. This era saw the development of complex communities that engineered sophisticated agricultural systems. They included terracing to maximize arable land in the rugged terrain and tended gardens that supported dense populations. By the time of abandonment, estimated between 1500 and 1600 AD, several factors likely contributed to the decline. European-introduced diseases such as smallpox and measles could have spread through indirect contact. They devastated communities long before face-to-face encounters with colonizers. Environmental changes like shifts in rainfall patterns or soil depletion from intensive farming might have rendered the area unsustainable. Additionally, social upheavals following the collapse of nearby Maya influences could have led to internal conflicts or mass migrations. These people were far from primitive. They demonstrated advanced knowledge in hydrology, constructing irrigation canals to manage water in the humid jungle. They also built roads that connected settlements, facilitating trade and communication. Unlike the well-documented Maya civilizations to the north, with their hieroglyphic writing and astronomical observatories, or the Olmec centers to the west, known for colossal stone heads, this culture remains enigmatic. It appears to be a unique hybrid, incorporating elements from both, but with distinct characteristics. These were perhaps shaped by multi-ethnic compositions, including migrants from Nahua-speaking regions in central Mexico. Those migrants brought new technologies and beliefs. The White City wasn't a singular urban center. It was likely a network of allied sites scattered across the Mosquitia rainforest. This vast expanse is designated as the Rio Platano Biosphere Reserve. It was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1982. The reserve spans over 2 million acres of dense tropical forest, rivers, and mountains. It preserves not only archaeological treasures, but also one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on the planet. The isolation of this area with its steep valleys and perpetual rainfall created natural barriers. They shielded these ruins from outsiders for centuries. But they also preserved a snapshot of pre-Columbian life, frozen in time. Understanding who these people were requires piecing together fragments from oral histories, artifacts, and environmental data. It reveals a society where spirituality and survival intertwined. Shamans might have conducted rituals to appease gods like the monkey god, ensuring bountiful harvests or protection from floods. The secrets of this lost world reveal a delicate balance between human ingenuity and the raw power of nature. Yet that balance shattered, leading to its enigmatic disappearance. What hidden forces tipped the scales? The truth lies in the shadows of history, waiting to be uncovered. The pursuit of the White City of the monkey god didn't truly gain momentum until the 20th century. That's when adventurers and scholars began transforming vague legends into systematic searches. One of the earliest modern sightings came in 1927. That's when the famed aviator Charles Lindbergh, during a goodwill flight over Central America, reported glimpsing what appeared to be white ruins protruding from the jungle canopy. It was a fleeting observation that ignited speculation among archaeologists. This built on prior efforts, such as the 1924 survey led by Herbert Spinden. He was an anthropologist who documented Corotigan artifacts in the region, including pottery and stone tools. These suggested ancient trade networks extending from Mexico to South America. These finds indicated that the inhabitants of Mosquitia were not isolated. They participated in broader cultural exchanges, importing ideas and materials that enriched their society. In 1933, archaeologist William Duncan Strong conducted ethnographic studies among the Peck people. He recorded their oral traditions that described Kaha Kamasa as a place of white houses and giant statues guarded by spirits. Strong's work emphasized the continuity between modern indigenous knowledge and ancient sites. It underscored that the White City was never truly lost to local communities, but deliberately concealed as sacred ground. However, the most dramatic and controversial claim emerged in 1940 from explorer Theodore Mord. After an expedition funded by a mining company, he announced he had located the city of the monkey god. Mord described discovering a vast temple complex featuring intricate monkey sculptures, massive staircases leading to ceremonial platforms, and even hints of buried gold. He claimed to have unearthed artifacts, including stone vessels and jade ornaments, which he later sold to museums. But scrutiny revealed inconsistencies. Mord refused to provide exact coordinates, citing fears of looters. His story was eventually debunked as a hoax aimed at securing exclusive mining rights in the area. Despite this setback, Mord's tale kept the legend alive, inspiring future generations to seek proof. The turning point arrived in the 21st century with the advent of advanced technology. It could penetrate the jungle's secrets without hacking through vines. In 2012, filmmaker and explorer Steve Elkins spearheaded a project using LiDAR technology. That's light detection and ranging, mounted on aircraft to scan the terrain from above. LiDAR works by emitting laser pulses that bounce back from surfaces, creating detailed three-dimensional maps even through thick vegetation. This survey identified two primary sites, designated T1 and T3. They were nestled in remote valleys previously inaccessible due to the treacherous landscape. The data revealed an astonishing array of features. There were large plazas for communal gatherings and earthen pyramids rising up to 20 meters in height, reminiscent of Mesoamerican architecture. There were also ball courts where ritual games might have been played, and extensive networks of irrigation canals and roads demonstrated sophisticated urban planning. These elements suggested a society capable of supporting thousands, with organized labor and specialized roles from farmers to artisans. The scale was comparable to renowned Maya sites like Copan. It indicated that this was no minor outpost, but a major cultural hub. Building on this, a collaborative Honduran-American expedition in 2015 ventured into the jungle to ground truth the LiDAR findings. Documented by author Douglas Preston in his best-selling book, The Lost City of the Monkey God, this team included archaeologists, biologists, and Honduran military personnel. They faced immense challenges, from torrential rains to encounters with venomous snakes like the fer-de-lance. Upon reaching the sites, they discovered a remarkable cache of over 50 intact stone sculptures. These were buried at the base of a main pyramid. The artifacts included depictions of vultures, symbolizing death and renewal. There were snakes representing fertility and transformation, and zoomorphic figures such as were-jaguars, hybrid creatures blending human and animal traits, central to shamanistic beliefs. Additionally, ritual medites or grinding stones were found. They were often carved with intricate designs, suggesting they were used not just for food preparation, but in ceremonies, perhaps to process hallucinogenic plants for visionary experiences. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials placed the height of occupation between 1000 and 1400 AD. That was during the post-classic period, following the decline of classic Maya cities. This timing implies that the White City's inhabitants might have been refugees or descendants from collapsing polities. They absorbed Maya artistic styles, like stepped pyramids, while developing unique traditions. The culture shows clear influences from both Maya and Olmec civilizations. For example, the use of jade for elite ornaments and the emphasis on animal totems. But it defies simple classification. It perhaps represents a melting pot where Nahua migrants introduced new elements, like ball games with symbolic meanings tied to cosmic battles. Beyond the ruins, the expedition's biologists cataloged extraordinary biodiversity. This included species presumed extinct, such as the false tree coral snake, a vividly patterned reptile adapted to arboreal life. There were pale-faced bats with specialized echolocation for navigating dense foliage, and rare tiger beetles known for their iridescent exoskeletons and predatory habits. Recent studies in 2025 have built on this, revealing even more astonishing finds. Scientists have documented 22 never-recorded species in the area, thriving in this isolated ecosystem. Hundreds of unknown creatures have been identified, showcasing the jungle's role as a hotspot for evolution. Researchers noted abundant populations of rare animals, like large cats including jaguars and pumas, as well as spider monkeys swinging through the canopy. These discoveries highlight how the White City's remoteness has preserved not just human history, but a living laboratory of biodiversity. This ecological richness underscores why the region remained untouched. The jungle itself acted as a barrier, fostering unique evolutionary niches. The team's work also highlighted advanced engineering feats like terraced fields that prevented erosion on steep slopes, and modified landscapes for aquaculture, raising fish in controlled ponds to supplement diets. What motivated these people to establish such a complex society in this challenging environment? Isolation provided defense against rivals, while abundant resources like fertile soils and rivers teeming with fish offered sustenance. Yet the evidence raises more questions than answers. Was the monkey god a literal deity worshipped through effigies, or a metaphorical representation of ancestral spirits? The artifacts suggest a stratified society where elites controlled rituals to maintain social order. They used shamanism to interpret omens and guide decisions. This detective work, blending technology, indigenous knowledge, and fieldwork, has peeled back layers of mystery. But the full story remains elusive, hinting at thousands more undiscovered sites across Mosquitia. What other secrets lurk in those shadows, waiting for the brave to reveal them? If you're hooked on this ancient mystery, hit that subscribe button now for more dives into lost civilizations. We've got videos on pre-Columbian enigmas waiting for you, and your subscription keeps the exploration going. As the 2015 expedition pushed further into the heart of the White City of the Monkey God, the reality of the jungle's dangers became all too apparent. It culminated in what many dubbed a modern-day curse. Remarkably, half the team members, including Douglas Preston himself, fell victim to leishmaniasis. That's a debilitating parasitic infection spread by tiny sandflies that burrow into skin. It causes lesions that can erode flesh over months if untreated. Medically, this is caused by the protozoan Leishmania brasiliensis, which flourishes in pristine, undisturbed habitats like the Mosquitia. This explains why such remote areas harbor both archaeological wonders and health hazards. Treatment involved intravenous drugs with severe side effects, highlighting the high cost of discovery. For the indigenous Pek, this outbreak echoed their ancestral warnings of protective spirits or gods punishing those who trespass on sacred lands. It's a belief rooted in centuries of oral tradition, where the monkey god and other deities enforced taboos against intrusion. This so-called curse adds a layer of intrigue to the civilization's downfall. Why did a people who mastered their environment abandon it around 1500 to 1600 AD, leaving structures intact but uninhabited? One prominent theory centers on the invisible invaders of European diseases. Pathogens like smallpox, influenza, and measles preceded direct colonial contact. They traveled along trade routes and decimated populations lacking immunity. Historical records show that by the time Spaniards reached Honduras in the 1520s, indigenous groups had already suffered massive die-offs. Estimates suggest up to 90% in some areas. This demographic collapse would have disrupted social structures, making it impossible to maintain large settlements. Environmental factors compound this narrative. Intensive agriculture might have led to deforestation, exposing soils to erosion and reducing fertility. Climatic variations, such as prolonged droughts or increased flooding associated with the Little Ice Age, could have strained resources. The post-classic period saw widespread instability across Mesoamerica. Maya city-states fragmented due to overpopulation, warfare, and ecological stress. These influences likely rippled into Mosquitia. Social theories suggest internal dynamics played a role. The multi-ethnic makeup with Nahua influences introducing new hierarchies or religious practices might have sparked conflicts. This could be between traditionalists and innovators, leading to factionalism and eventual dispersal. Artifacts like the were-jaguar sculptures evoke a worldview where transformation and duality were key. Shamans transformed into animals to access spiritual realms. So epidemics might have been interpreted as divine retribution from neglected gods, eroding faith in leaders. The site's layout, with dispersed plazas and pyramids, indicates a decentralized network rather than a monolithic city. This allowed for gradual abandonment as groups migrated to safer areas. Critics of the discovery narrative, such as archaeologist Rosemary Joyce, point out a key issue. Framing it as a lost city overlooks indigenous perspectives. Pek elders have long revered these places as ancestral homes, known through generations, not discovered by outsiders. This colonial mindset, they argue, perpetuates exploitation. It ignores that locals guided early explorers and continue to protect the sites from looters. Today, the climax intensifies with contemporary threats. Illegal logging, driven by demand for tropical hardwoods, clears vast swaths of forest. This exposes ruins to erosion. Cattle ranching converts jungle to pasture, fragmenting habitats. Artifact looting, fueled by black market collectors, uses modern tools like GPS to pinpoint and extract valuables. This diminishes the archaeological record. Only a fraction, about 200, of potentially thousands of Mosquitia sites have been surveyed. there have been limited excavations to minimize disturbance. The Honduran government, in collaboration with institutions like the National Institute of Anthropology, has secured artifacts in climate-controlled labs for study. Initiatives like the Ruta Kaha Kamasa, established in 2010, promote sustainable ecotourism. This route winds through indigenous communities, offering insights into Pek culture and fostering economic benefits that encourage conservation. Yet the theory of destruction ultimately circles back to human impact. Whether ancient plagues or modern greed, the White City teaches us about fragility. It shows how even resilient societies can falter under pressure. The LiDAR maps and ground surveys provide a blueprint of ingenuity. There are earthen mounds aligned perhaps with celestial events for calendars, terraces optimized water flow, sculptures encoded myths. What if the true curse is our failure to learn from the past, allowing history to repeat in the form of environmental degradation? These ruins challenge us to approach discovery with respect. We must integrate indigenous voices to ensure that the monkey god's domain remains a source of wonder rather than ruin. But could more hidden dangers await those who dare to return? Wrapping up our journey into the White City of the monkey god, we've uncovered a lost civilization that blends myth with reality. It's a place where ancient mysteries meet modern science. From Cortes tales to LiDAR revelations, this Honduran jungle hides a pre-Columbian world of pyramids, sculptures, and shamanistic rituals. It was abandoned amid disease and change. Lesser-known facts like the biodiversity bonanza with rediscovered and newly recorded species in 2025 remind us that history isn't just about discovery, but preservation. The Pek and other groups view it as sacred, not lost. This urges a rethink of colonial exploration narratives. With threats looming from deforestation and looting, the future of these sites hangs in the balance. Perhaps the greatest mystery is how we protect them. If this dive into the Honduran jungle sparked your curiosity, subscribe now for more ancient enigmas and lost worlds. Hit that bell to never miss an upload and comment below. What's your take on the monkey god curse, real or myth? Check out our next video on other pre-Columbian puzzles to keep the adventure alive. Your support fuels these explorations, so let's uncover history together.